So I've decided to get off of caffeine, at least for a while. I was starting to have a real big issue with it, overdoing it. And I've done this before, getting off caffeine. I think a lot of us have certain memories that we look back on, and for whatever reason, there's just this vivid memory of certain things. And one of mine is when I was in college, and I actually did a month of caffeine free. And I remember calling somebody and saying, hey, like, this is incredible. Like, by the end of the day, like 6 p.m., I still have a ton of energy. Like, it's solid and it's steady and I feel great. This is wonderful. And then I remember having that cup of coffee after a month of not having coffee, and it was just this euphoric experience. I wanted to talk to everybody and be like, hey, I love you. Like, everything was amazing, and it really hit me. And I've realized that recently I was using caffeine just to try and feel normal, and not even like it should be a treat. Like, oh, I get this little pep, or I get this little bump, and helps me feel focused and all these things, or just makes me feel good. For me, it was this vice that I needed. Otherwise, I felt awful. And I was probably drinking 2 huge cups of coffee and an energy drink, probably flirting with 500 to 700 milligrams of caffeine a day. So I had a real problem, and that was just to get through. That wasn't to be like have an incredible day. That was to survive is what I was doing. And I remember in the past, not terribly long ago, I did try and go cold turkey on caffeine, which was excruciating. And I think I made it like 4 days, and then I had like 1 cup of coffee, and then all of a sudden I was back at it. So this time, what I decided to do was do a slow wean off of caffeine. So for the first week, I did a regular cup of coffee and decaf mix. So it was a big coffee like I was used to, but it was half decaf, half regular. And I had green tea in the afternoon also, which has a little bit of caffeine. Then I went down to, after I did that for about a week, and then for a couple of days, I did decaf coffee and green tea. And now I'm just doing green tea or matcha tea. And real quick, what caffeine actually does, and a reason why I wanted to get off of it was it actually doesn't make us like awake or not tired. It lies to us to make us feel alert. So there's chemical receptors that also have adenosine matched to them. So adenosine is this hormone that's supposed to make you feel sleepy and be like, oh, I'm tired, I should rest. That's what adenosine does. It hits those receptors, and then your body is like, oh, okay, I'm tired. Caffeine fills those receptors so that adenosine can't get in, right? So we don't feel tired, even though we actually are, and we need sleep, which is why when you get off caffeine, then all of a sudden you get flooded with this overflow of adenosine that was just waiting, and you're exhausted and can't do anything, because basically you're lying. It's a cheat. You're stealing energy from later on. You're going to have to pay it back. There's this debt of energy that you keep. It's basically a credit card. Caffeine is a credit card of energy. And I was building up this huge credit card debt, and then you got to pay it back. And that was the reason why I wanted it to get off caffeine. Also, just the feeling of not being in control and knowing I needed it. Like, I had to have caffeine and I needed it. And there was it was a lot of what I thought about during the day, whether consciously or subconsciously, was, oh, well, once this time frame comes up, I can go on break at work and I can get some caffeine. I can have an energy drink. I can drink a bunch of coffee so that I can be productive. And as humans, we're not meant to need caffeine to be productive and to be able to focus and do our day-to-day job. And that's where I was. I was fully like dependent on it. And I didn't like that. I didn't like having no sovereignty over myself and my day. And my whole day revolved around when I could basically have caffeine to keep going. It was really bad. So wanting my sovereignty back of my day, not wanting to like constantly be thinking about caffeine. Also the cost of things, like I would start buying energy drinks to get more caffeine, because the more you have caffeine, those adenosine receptors, your body will just make more receptors because the adenosine wants to get in. And so then you need more caffeine. That's where the tolerance goes up. Then you need more and more and more to get the same, like basically high off of the caffeine. It also wears out like our adrenal glands. So when you have caffeine, you're in like this fight or flight. And so your cortisol levels go up and you're basically stressed. And so you're adding this stress, and a lot of people who have caffeine all the time deal with anxiety. And I was starting to deal with anxiety and not even really seeing it. But in hindsight, knowing like there was definitely there, because your cortisol levels are up, your adrenaline is up, because you're just pumping this into your body and saying, hey, take this, take this. It also messes with your digestive system. The acidity in coffee messes with your stomach. So all of these reasons, and I just wanted to like feel steady and in control. And I remember I used to, when I was in college, I loved doing like challenging, difficult things, right? And I realized I don't like doing that stuff anymore. Like everything that's like, what's the easiest way? Because life is so tough and I'm exhausted all the time. And I had multiple revelation moments if I needed to do something. But one of them was I have these caffeine pills that are supposed to pair up with like a pre-workout. And I took, it's 150 milligrams of caffeine. And I took one because I was a little bit like tired at work. And I felt nothing. So my system was so adapt to like having caffeine, and my tolerance was so high that getting 150 milligrams, I felt no change. And I was like, well, what the heck? Like, I'm still tired. And waking up in the morning, just feeling exhausted like a zombie until I had some caffeine to feel normal. So I wanted to like kind of get back to where, like how I used to be and how I used to feel. And also figure out who I am if I don't have caffeine. Like, who am I without this drug? Like, it is a drug, and it affects our brain and our body and our stomach and our adrenal glands and our cortisol, stress levels, all this stuff. So I wanted to just try to do this kind of challenge thing. So I'm still weaning off. I had my matcha tea today. I'm going on like 10 or 11 days. And then next week I'm going to plan on doing no caffeine at all. So this is kind of a part one of, I don't know if anyone cares, but I think I would have benefited from having someone tell me, like, especially if it's all you can think about in the morning and you're groggy without it, just try and see what would happen if you kick it. I'm starting to feel a lot more steady energy levels, like in the evening. After work, like I have a little bit more energy now. Again, I'm still just in the beginning stages of this, but I do feel better. And I think a huge piece of it is not the needing. I don't need it. And I don't really want it right now. And I look forward to like the freedom of not having to have caffeine to get through my day. So I'm enjoying it so far. And the withdrawals, the first couple days, again, the reason I weaned is the last time I went cold turkey was excruciating. It was still difficult this time because I had been using so much, and then I came down to like, you know, just a cup of coffee, and exhausted, didn't want to do anything, could barely get off the couch for the first couple of days. But I think it's worth it, and hopefully I'll do another video in like a month and tell you how I'm feeling at that point. But yeah, I'm gonna try this no caffeine thing again. And I've had a lot of these thoughts in my head, and I kind of just wanted to make a video about it. So there you go.